Good evening, everyone. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. How's everybody doing? Hope you all had a good day. I'm just inviting some friends, and we will get started. Okay, so happy Tuesday. Hope you all had a good day. I had a good day. It's kind of a busy day, but productive. I did share that I participated in an event over the weekend. I don't know if y'all saw the post, but it was the Black Child Book Fair, and they are touring the country over the summer, and they just announced their fall tour. So any of you all who are interested, they're going to be touring the southern states this fall. But it was a nice event. It was a very nice event, and I shared my table setup and some of the things that I did to make my table stand out and get noticed. And so I was very proud of it. But check that post. And I was listening also today to a Clubhouse room where they were talking about tips for vending. So those are things that we can do over the summer while the weather's nice. So I recommend it. So get out there and sell those books. So thank you, everybody, for joining me again for Kid Author Connect. We're here every Tuesday at 6:30, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to some fabulous children's authors, indie authors mainly, who you might not otherwise have the opportunity to meet and to get to know and to ask your awesome questions. So the fun thing about this interview is that you guys send in the questions and I ask them. I have them random here in this little container and I pick them. So I don't know what I'm picking. The author doesn't know what they're going to be asked. Very interesting. And we always learn some very good details, fun details, but it's always a meaningful discussion. So I am really enjoying it so far, and I'm glad when you always join me. Okay, so I am Naomi Dunsen-White with Naomi Books LLC, and I am a children's author myself, which makes this even more fun for me. My book is Johari the Great. It is about a boy, his imagination, and a freshly sharpened pencil. So Johari finds out that his greatest gift is his imagination and his ability to write. So you can look on my page or visit my website at www.naomibooks.com for more information on Johari the Great. I'm also going to be releasing an ebook next week, guys. Next week on July 22nd. I cannot believe it, but pre-orders for this book right here. Is your child an excellent reader? And of course, we all want to say yes. Well, I've got some tips for that. So, is your child an excellent reader? Unleashing your child's genius potential. So there's a lot of things that we can do to really guide our children into excellent reading. We don't stop at the point when they become independent readers. That is crucial. That is the time to really put that guidance to work. So I share some tips in this book and some advice and things from my experience of working with children. So excellent reading, that is the goal. We're children's book authors. We're not just here to entertain, we're here to educate, right? Okay, so all that aside, I'm excited. I'm so excited tonight because my guest is David Miller, okay? He's very well known in the children's book industry, and I've heard him speak many times. I met him on Clubhouse. I had the pleasure of attending 2 of his webinars about marketing your books and getting the attention of schools, actually getting your books into schools. That is the big question on everybody's mind. And I know David's out there, so I'm just warning you, David. Everybody's excited and everyone wants to know. Everyone wants to know. So before I invite David in, I will let you know that, as I said, I attended 2 of his seminars. Very good. Lots of good information and tips to get you ready and get your book ready to present to schools. So I did have a couple of people send in a few questions about schools, so we'll see if we can get to that. Today, we're going to discuss David's book. He has more than one book. This is the book we're discussing, Chef Toussaint. I love this book. I reviewed this book. I had the pleasure of doing that, and I highly recommend it. So I'm interested and excited to speak to David. I'm going to have him join us right now. So thank you all again for joining me. He's going to be on with me in just a second. Thank you, guys. Hi, David.
Hey, Naomi, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm so happy that you joined us tonight. I'm so happy about that. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for the great work that you are doing, and anyone that is listening, definitely reach out to Naomi, because Naomi does some really powerful reviews. And in order for us to compete in the indie space, those reviews are valuable. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you. And I did have the pleasure of reviewing 2 of your books. And this is the book that we really want to discuss tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, just look at the cover, guys. It's just amazing. This cover really gets your attention. And I noticed in your book that some of the techniques that you share from your webinar and just other conversations that I've had with you. Somebody says you look like a pastor today, Brother David.
A pastor? No. Yes. I actually curse too much.
No.
That's one of my vices. That's one of the things that I'm working on.
All right. So everybody has their thing that they need to work on.
Right.
Okay. But I noticed in your book, from talking to you and from being at your webinars, I noticed some of the techniques that you had suggested. And so we'll get to that and be able to share with the people. You are a wealth of information. You have been for me. And before I let you officially introduce yourself, I'm going to say again, thank you, because when I first met you, you immediately sought to help me. You didn't even know me. And my daughter had told me about you, but when I met you and you reached out to help me, I didn't know that you were the David she was talking about.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's really nice. It made me feel, it was right in the beginning when I just released my book, and it made me feel like I wasn't alone and that there were people who were willing to help. So I appreciate that. And I want you all to know that that's who David is. I mean, that's who he is. So introduce yourself, David. Tell us about you and where do you live?
So I hail from the great city. I'm from Tubman City, Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah.
We renamed Baltimore Tubman City, but I currently live in Frederick Douglass City, Washington, D.C.
Okay.
I have had a very interesting and unique life in terms of the work that I do. And so most people are aware of my work on the youth development side. I mean, a body of my work has been around addressing the challenges which impact young Black males. And so, based on my own, upbringing in Baltimore, experienced multiple traumas growing up. When I was a sophomore at Morgan State University, my best friend was a freshman at Morehouse. He had come home during summer vacation. 3 guys tried to rob us in West Baltimore. We didn't have the money. They started shooting. They shot my best friend in the back with a sawed-off shotgun. He died in my arms.
David.
I was 19 years old. I wasn't a Crip or Blood or Gangster Disciple. I was a college student, and that really, Naomi and others, that really rocked my world. And that was the second major trauma that I had experienced growing up. When I was about 11 or 12, probably maybe a little younger than I may have been about 10. One of my best friends blew his brains out in front of us playing a game called Russian roulette. As a youngster, I experienced my fair share of trauma, but my saving grace was Peter and Carol Miller. I had outstanding parents. Mom passed away a couple of years ago. Dad is still alive. And I grew up in a community. I grew up in a community of adults that stressed education, that stressed reading, that stressed going to the library. And I always tell people that despite what you might read about me on paper, I dropped out of college, went back, and now I'm actually a PhD student back at Morgan State University, getting my PhD in social work. I'm actually working on my dissertation. as we speak. But
That's
several years
awesome.
ago, Naomi, I decided that I wanted to dip my toe in the children's book space, because when my children were younger, you would go to Barnes and Nobles and other bookstores. We historically say representation matters, but that's definitely not the case. Even today, if you go
Yeah.
to Barnes and Nobles,
Yep.
you will be hard pressed to find a lot of books
Yeah.
with Black and brown children. And so that's one of the reasons why I started writing children's books. I've been fortunate enough to wear two hats, having an undergraduate degree, master's degree, working on a PhD, to have spent a lot of time in the educational and social developmental arena, which really allows me to have a unique set of thought partners.
Mm.
I tell people that I've been mentored by three amazing children's book authors. Kwame Alexander, who I'm sure many of you guys have heard of, New York Times bestseller.
Absolutely.
The Crossover and several other books. One of the Crossover, they're actually going to be making a Disney movie about Kwame's book. Jerry Craft, New York Times bestseller, has the hottest graphic novel out. And then Derek Barnes, who wrote King of Kindergarten, and several other books. So I've been fortunate enough to have been mentored and have great relationships with three outstanding African-American male authors. And so my responsibility, because I've been mentored by folk, my responsibility is to mentor others.
Wow. Well, that is true that you were definitely blessed. And that's a blessing that now, because you were blessed, you want to be a blessing to others.
Right.
And immediately, as I said, when I met you, that's exactly what I perceived from you. You know, that you were, you realize that help is needed, and you were willing to just give a few words, to help me. And I never forgot that. So I appreciate that. That is amazing to have three mentors. One is pretty great, but to have three that are just so well known and gifted, that's pretty amazing.
And I think Naomi, that's part of the challenge. We keep thinking that we can do this alone.
Yeah.
Right. And so those are just three of my mentors in the children's book space. But then I have I'm also a historian. So I've been mentored by people like Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, Dr. John Heinrich Clark.
And that's how my daughter met you, David, because she's very much into African and Black history. That's how she met you.
Right. That's how we connected. And so one of the things I want to share with folks is, y'all, we got to remove the ego and we got to go together. Oftentimes we want to go alone.
Yeah.
You really need to build a team to be a successful independent children's book author, competing against your Random House, your Simon & Schuster, your Scholastic. You really need a squad, right?
Yeah.
And so I've been able to build a squad of people both here in the US and abroad who are serious about producing quality children's books.
Wow. Yeah, that's really important, because I can tell you, just for me, coming out with my first book, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anyone, so you really are pretty much floundering if you think you're going to do it alone. You cannot. Right. You need to hook up with people who are more skilled, more knowledgeable, and willing to help. But also there's coaches. There are people who help you with marketing. I mean, it's going to take you investing in yourself as well. But I'm with you 100%. You cannot do this alone. You cannot. I have learned that.
Yeah, you can. You can.
Yeah.
You can. Nor Naomi, and to the other folks that are listening, particularly for Black folks in America, that's been our struggle. We've always wanted to do. Many of us want to go alone, and we need to go together. So, for example, I've always said, like, if 50 of us approach Scholastic about the lack of diversity and a lack of representation, and you got some good folks at Scholastic, Andrea Pinckney and some other folks, but when it comes to diversity, from the standpoint of us being independent authors, we can actually produce more content faster. Like literally, I'm going to put out 8 more books this year. I'm going to
Wow.
put out 8 more high quality children's books because the demand, particularly from schools, is
Is
overwhelming.
there. Yeah.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there. It's there. Not everyone can do that, what you just said, putting out 8 books. That's major. But you're right. The more books with black and brown characters that are
Yes.
out there, the more they want. Which
Yes.
I post often about diversity, and I like to share statistics and data. They still would rather have a main character that's a talking animal, a talking car, a truck, or whatever, instead of a character that is a minority or a person of color. But the people want to buy the books, so it
Right.
makes no sense. They're standing on this really a facade that books about people of color, characters of people of color, don't sell, but that's not true at all.
Right. Right.
It's not true at all.
Yeah, and I don't think that. So I'm really great friends with Derek and Ramunda Young. If you're not familiar with Mahogany Books,
I
and
heard you
Naomi, I
speak.
know we weren't able to hook up when you were in Maryland because I had some stuff to do. But the next time, I know you have family. I think you have family in the
Yeah,
area.
I do.
The next time you come down, I need to take you over to Mahogany. So you're talking about a husband and wife who started their first they started an online bookstore, then they did a brick and mortar in the hood in Southeast DC, doing extremely well. And they just opened up in National Harbor. Now, I don't know how many people have ever been to National Harbor in DC, 14 million visitors annually. And they have opened up a new bookstore. It's right. You can see that when you stand in front of their bookstore, you can see the water. And I can't remember what period of time, but they sold about 100,000 books in about 4 months.
Wow.
And so the other thing is, we definitely have to do business with black
bookstores.
Now,
Yep.
sadly, we lost probably about 40% of black bookstores over the last 15 to 20 years, but there's a resurgence of black bookstores. So you got to give some love to Mahogany in DC. I see Ebony Gifts and Books in Chesapeake, Virginia, down in that Hampton area. I do some work with them, and they have my books. Hakeem's Bookstore in Philadelphia.
I hope you guys are writing this down. I hope you're writing all these bookstores down.
They've been open 61 years selling black books. Hakeem's Bookstore. Everyone's Place in Baltimore. Brother Nati. Got to give Brother Nati a shout out. Let me tell you how much love this brother shows me. Whenever I write a book, a children's book or an adult book, he buys the first 100 copies from me.
Wow.
Because he also owns African World Books. He is the largest distributor of black books in the country, right? I could go on and on. Malik's Bookstore in Los Angeles. You have Avant-Garde Books, black-owned bookstore in the Western Mall in Atlanta that's doing well. My books are flying off the shelf. You got the Doc Shop in right outside of Dallas, Texas, in Fort Worth. Harriet's Books, a black feminist bookstore in Philadelphia. So y'all, there's no excuse.
Right. You're
There's
right.
absolutely no excuse.
You're right. You're right, David. I have to tell you this too. The last time I was in a clubhouse room with you and you started sharing like you are now about these different black bookstores, I got to work and started researching and compiling a list of all these black bookstores. My sister and I are working on that right now. And you're right. We had to, she's verifying because a lot of them have gone out of business.
Yeah.
So before I make the list available, we wanted to verify to make sure that it's accurate. But you're right. There's so many. I think people would be shocked to know how many black-owned bookstores there are in this country.
And many of them are doing extremely well. Here's another one for y'all. Y'all not ready for this. Just Us Books. Wade and Cheryl Hudson in East Orange, New Jersey, have the largest collection of black children's books. Husband and wife, they've been at this about 35 years, publishing high quality children's books. Wade and Cheryl Hudson, good friends with them, had the opportunity of going to Cuba in 2019, along with a delegation of black writers. So there's a lot That's Just Us Books in East Orange. There's a lot going on that we're not even knowledgeable about.
Right. Right. Well, we haven't even asked you a question yet, and
I'm sorry.
we've gotten a wealth of information already. I hope everybody's paying attention. That is amazing. That is amazing. Okay, I'm gonna make sure no one's asking you a question. Everyone is saying hello to you, David. They're all saying hello to you. Okay, so here's what I want to ask you. Tell us a little bit about your family before we get started talking about your book. Tell us about your family.
So, just an amazing family. Have been married 23 years.
Awesome.
I have a 25-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 16-year-old. I got to think about it because I'm getting older.
I get it. I get it. So 25, 21, and 16.
Yes.
Okay. So what do they think about your writing for children? Because I know you do other writing as well. You have other books, and I want to ask you about that. But what do they think about the children's books?
2 daughters and a son. My daughters have been a little concerned because I'm always writing books for boys. Okay. So most of, like if you look at
Khalil's Way.
Do
you have Gabe in the green thumb there? Gabe in his green thumb.
It's around here somewhere.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, it's probably around somewhere. And so
that's one of my favorites.
To really write for boys because when you look at the academic research, when you look at data from the National Assessment for Educational Progress, Black and brown boys tend to be behind.
Exactly.
In reading and math. So I decided that I would specifically do a whole line of books just for boys. But because my daughters have been somewhat not feeling that, I have a book coming out
for girls.
Okay. That almost brings me to tears when I talk about it.
That's awesome.
So the book is called Winnie, the Wizard of Wall Street. The lead character is named after our hero, Winnie Mandela.
Okay.
And the protagonist in the story is 9 years old. She is a she is a financial wizard. So she sells stocks and is into money management. She's only 9, but the story is inspired by Magdalena Walker. And if one of the people who is in the building right now can tell me who Magdalena Walker was without looking, I'll mail you a copy of the book.
Let's see if anybody.
I'm not gonna give you time to jump on Google. Who was Magdalena Walker? I'm gonna count to 10. 1, 2.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to keep counting because I don't.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I don't see anybody saying anything.
10. I'm going to go to 15, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so the story is inspired by the life and legacy of Magdalena Walker. Magdalena Walker owned a bank. First Black woman in the United States. First woman in the United States to own a bank, 1903. What we know of now is downtown Richmond, Virginia, in another Black Wall Street. Because a lot of times, Naomi, when we talk about Black Wall Street, we only think about Tulsa. But there were a bunch of Black Wall Streets across the country.
Yes.
So think about that, y'all. A Black woman owning a bank. The St. Luke's Penny Saving Bank in 1903.
Yeah.
And so the book is inspired by, the lead character is inspired by Magdalena Walker. Because in most of my books, like in Chef Toussaint is named after Haitian Revolutionary Toussaint Louverture. Yes. So most of my books, I try to add some history. In Brooklyn's Finest, which I don't have on my desk. One of the lead characters' his name is Booker Talaferro Washington Green.
That's awesome, right? David. That's the one I haven't read. I haven't read that one.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I like how you do that. And I was talking to my sister earlier. She's my partner in all this, and she's been like my right hand since I can't use my right hand very much lately. But I was telling her how you do that in your books. You'll use history. You'll also use a location and actually identify a location so that the readers can identify with it. It's,
Right.
to me, it's an excellent marketing strategy.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it actually helps the reader to make a personal connection with the book.
And
Very
Naomi,
smart.
we also struggle with geography. Most Americans struggle with geography. Like they can tell you that California is on the West Coast, but they wouldn't be able to tell you any neighboring states. We really struggle in public education, not just with math and reading, but we struggle big time with geography.
You're right about that. You're right. Well, I like that, especially in the book we're talking about tonight is Chef Toussaint. For those of you who just came in, this is one of David's. Is this your latest book, David?
Yes, that's my most recent book.
This is the most recent one. Okay. And it's called Chef Toussaint. I do want to ask you about your family before we move on to the book. So what is it that you like to do with your family? What is it that you all do for enjoyment?
So we are, interestingly enough, my two daughters are foodies, so they love food. I'm a guy who, my wife really, she likes food, but not to the, she's not real adventurous. So like I travel, anybody who knows me knows I travel to Africa a lot. So I eat a lot of African food.
Mm-hmm.
I like Indian food. I like Mediterranean food. So we love to eat. They love to shop. I'm not really big on shopping. Love vacationing. My children have had passports since they were little.
That's good.
Right? Like since they were, babies, they've all had passports, because I really believe that international travel is so important. So important.
And for us, for Black people in general, I think it's becoming more, not so much a dream anymore, but actually a pursuit.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of Black travel groups, and Janae and my son and daughter now, they're living in Tanzania now.
Right.
They've been there for a little bit over a month. So that's been quite an adventure emotionally, but I'm so happy.
I know it is. It is, but I'm excited. My plan, Naomi, in the next 2 years, I'm going to be living 6 months here in the U.S. and 6 months
there
in Ghana.
And you do a lot of work too. I want everyone to know that you do a lot of work with organizations, charitable organizations in Ghana and in another area in Africa as well. Is that right? I can't remember.
Met with some people on Sunday. They just actually got back from Tanzania, and a delegation, because I'm working on my dissertation. My movement, my travel has been somewhat limited, but a delegation of friends of mine also just went to Gambia.
Okay,
Gambia. So one of the things that I will say, and people stay in touch with me, through the inspiration of Kwame Alexander, we built a library in Ghana, in a rural village in Ghana. Again, you visit the village, you will be in tears, because when we first went to the village, Naomi, 11 years ago, the children didn't say they wanted an iPad or a pair of Jordans. They wanted books. So our first 4 years, we donated first 4 to 5 years, we donated about 3,500 children's books. We built bookshelves and everything. But we ended up doing some creative, Kickstarter campaigns, raised the money. So we built an impressive library. The last time I was in Ghana was 2018 because of my school commitments and family commitments. But I'm probably gonna go in December, and if I go in December, I want to take at least 500 books from independent authors to put in the library. So I'll make some announcement. And if people
include mine, because I definitely will donate. That would be wonderful. I would love that. And I know there's many authors that would love to contribute. So keep us posted on that, David. That sounds exciting. Okay, so I want to make sure, for those of you who just came on, we are going to be talking about David Miller's latest book, Chef Toussaint. Tell me what you love about this character, David. Tell me what you love about him.
So, the bigger story around Chef Toussaint and Gabe and some of the other featured characters in my book is, Naomi, most of my work over the last 30 years has been working in some of the most difficult communities in this country.
Yeah.
And I realized early on that so many of our children have forgotten how to dream.
Wow.
And because children have forgotten how to dream, I want to introduce them to a character like Toussaint. Yeah,
Yes.
Toussaint, who's only 9 and he's
9
already a
years
chef.
old.
He's 9 years old. He's only a chef.
Yes.
And I mean, it's something very powerful when we can teach particularly black and brown children, that if you want to be the president of the United States, you can, because we got a roadmap.
Yes.
Right. If you want to be a chef, if you want to be a professor at a university, if you want to be a writer, we don't have to our children just don't have to be relegated to ball players and
Exactly,
musicians.
David.
And so,
Exactly.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
And I shared with you before, that's why I wrote this book. He doesn't
Right.
have a ball in his hand. He's not singing. He's not rapping. And he's not saying, oh, I'm black. We can see you're black. But you know what his superpower is? His imagination and his writing.
Right. Right.
He writes. He discovers his greatness by writing. And you're right.
Yeah.
Our children need to be able to think beyond the popular.
Right.
It's not about the popular thing. I say this all the time. Every child has a gift within them, and it's up to us, the grown-ups in their lives, to help them discover it. That makes me think of him. That's what he did.
Let me just also add, Naomi, for full transparency. See, the only reason why I didn't go to prison, and now I'm getting ready to finish my PhD, is because my parents taught me how to dream. I was arrested twice before I was 19 years old.
Wow, David.
But again, my parents taught me how to dream. And so, all of the books that I write, right? And again, people have been pushing me to write these books for girls, and my daughters have been pushing me. So I got something for y'all. Y'all not ready for it. But teaching our children how to dream,
yes,
is so important.
But I understand about the girls, and that's true. Girl power, black girl magic, all of that. But there is something to speaking to boys, especially at this age, because we lose a lot of boys at that age. Yeah. Scholastically, that academically, if we don't catch them at that 3rd grade, 4th grade level, you can easily lose them. So yes, having them dream and see themselves, that looks like any kid from my neighborhood that I grew up in. It's anybody's kid, and it's possible. It's possible. I have some people here say that they would like to donate. It's a workbook for young readers. Okay, so people will follow you. Please follow David.
Please follow me, and then
yes.
Just shoot me please follow me.
Send you a DM.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely want to follow him. He shares a lot of good information. He's definitely a contact to have. So I want to again show this. And David, the illustrations, I've heard you talk a few times about your illustrator. These illustrations are amazing. I want to share some of them. While you speak about your illustrator, I'd like to share some of these. Look at this. It looks like a photograph.
Anybody who knows me knows that I am unapologetically black.
Yes, sir.
And so I hire black illustrators, and my illustrator for 3 of my most recent books is a young man named CJ Love. Let me tell you off the break, he is booked for the next 9 months. But if you're thinking about a project 8 months down the road, DM me, and I can connect you. A lot of people use Fiverr and other people, they use international illustrators. That's fine. I just really believe in the brilliance of black people. So I only use black illustrators. And I got a sister, Naomi, that I need to connect you with, that is she's going to do at least 3 books for me focused on girls.
Oh, wow.
She is absolutely amazing.
Wow.
African-American sister, a Muslim sister, good Muslim sister, originally from Brooklyn, just moved to Maryland. Somehow we got connected. And so I'm actually going to try to sign a contract with her today or tomorrow.
I would love to meet her.
The other thing for those writers is you got to invest in this thing. Either this thing is a hobby or a business. If it's a business, Naomi, I can't tell you the number of children's books that I've looked at where the artwork is not great.
I know, David, I know. It's like this digital stuff that, you can tell. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't want to criticize anyone's book, but the artwork has got to be excellent. It's got to be. It's got to be.
If you want to compete.
If you want to compete.
If you want to compete.
Yes.
If you want to get shelf space. People always ask me, why am I not in Barnes and Nobles, right? See, the reason why
I just told somebody that today, David. I was talking about you. I remember.
It's a business decision. I don't even really push Amazon because, again, when you start, is this a hobby or a business? I'm on Amazon.
Right.
And if you hell bent on buying the book from Amazon versus buying the book from me, I'm not going to stop you, but I make more money. There's a greater ROI, return on the investment, if you purchase the book directly from me. And so for my writers, you have to have a functional website.
Yes.
With a store.
Yes.
So that people can order directly from you. I have no interest in being in Barnes and Nobles. None. None whatsoever.
I told my sister that today. I never forgot when you said that, David. I never forgot that. Because your profits remain with you, number one, directly buying from your website. And when I first started, that's what happened to me. And I share that. I mean, it was great to be on Amazon, but I had already sold like 300 books from my website before I even sold a book from Amazon. Right. And I learned really quickly, like, wait a minute, I have to pay them, so I'm losing some of my profit. So I made my website my main focus.
Main website. Now, again, I've met some folks on Clubhouse and Instagram where their focus is Amazon because they want to be an Amazon bestseller because they want to put a little sticker on their book. Yes. I don't need to put no Amazon bestselling sticker on my book. I sold 800 books 2 weeks ago. I sold 800 books in like a week, right? Like in a 7-day week, I sold 800, and that's not even a lot.
Right. For you, it's a lot for us, David. It's a lot for us. It's a whole lot for us. And that's why we're so excited that you're here sharing this with us. But these illustrations, I mean, guys, can you believe these illustrations? It looks like photographs. It looks like a photograph. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, David, I'm excited because what I do is I pick my favorite part of the author's book and I read it. So I'm excited to do that. But before I do, there's so many good things about this book, and I pointed them out. I had the pleasure again of reviewing it. So guys, look on my page and look for Chef Toussaint. There's a book review. You'll have to go back a little bit. But I reviewed this book and I shared, there's just so much here. There's history here. There's entertainment value, of course. There's family legacy, which I thought was very, very important. And it's like you said, it's his dream. He's just a little kid and he's living his dream already. So what are 2 things that you want children to take away from this book, David?
Understanding the power of identity. Because this notion of self-concept and how you view yourself in relationship to the rest of the world is very, very, very important. And I think sadly, too often our children don't have a positive self-concept because of racism and white supremacy and mass media.
Absolutely.
We still dealing with light skin, dark skin, even as adults. How about it? I gotta say this, Naomi. I was vending at an event. Yes, it's Sunday. What's today?
Today's Tuesday.
Oh, today's Tuesday. On Sunday, I was vending at an outdoor event. And this brother said to this sister, "You pretty to be a dark-skinned woman."
Oh my gosh.
And I waited a couple minutes because I'm always getting in trouble, Naomi. I said,
"Can't be quiet."
I said, "Bro, come here, man." And I just had to break down how offensive, and I did it in a nice way because I ain't trying to get stabbed. Right. I did it in a nice way to help him understand how crazy his statement was. But that's what happens in a system of racism and white supremacy.
Exactly.
And it starts with our babies.
Yes, it does.
Very, very early.
That's
that they don't develop a positive self-concept. And so even in my books, one of the number one things is I'm trying to help Black children and brown children understand the power of identity.
Yes. Yes. And you're a pro at it, David. You really are. You really are. So I'm going to show this cover again. I'm going to read my favorite part. This is Chef Toussaint. And his name is Toussaint L'Ouverture. He's named after the Haitian hero, which you start out the book with history, which is amazing. So I'm going to read my favorite part, David. It starts on page 14, okay? We keep Nana's recipes in an old-looking brown box. Nana was my great-grandmother whose food you could smell from miles away. Nana and her sisters owned a successful soul food restaurant in Jackson, Mississippi, before moving to Atlanta. Homemade cornbread, peach cobbler, and banana pudding were some of Nana's favorites. Nana was best known for her baked salmon with cashews, macaroni and cheese, and potato salad. I am proud Nana left her recipes for our family so we can continue the tradition of making great food. And I want to show these illustrations before I go on. Amazing. He has his Nana's recipes. Sometimes the neighbors stop by to find out what I'm cooking. They say you can smell my collard greens 4 blocks away on 7th Avenue. And when my dad gets his hair cut, the men standing in front of the barbershop tell him how they can smell fried okra coming from our house. These illustrations, David, it's just crazy.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's crazy. There's so much here. I can't wait to talk about it. On Friday nights, after I finish my chores, I cook a few large pots of black-eyed peas for several churches nearby. We get fresh onions and garlic from the Johnson family farm in McDonough, Georgia. My dad loves when I make black-eyed peas. I add turkey bacon to give my black-eyed peas more flavor. Amazing. Look at that. It looks like real food. So, let me tell you why I picked this part. It was very difficult. It was very difficult to pick just 1 minute to read. I started with the talk about Nana because it shows family legacy, and I think that's beautiful. My mom was called Nana. Her grandchildren called her Nana. And she was known for cooking pretty well too, and she was known for her peach cobbler. Everybody's Nana's known for something that they cook. So this is so easily relatable for not just children, but for the parents. And it brought a smile to my face when I was reading it, thinking of my Nana and my grandmother. And I feel that families will make that connection here. Yeah. I love how Nana has passed down the recipes. Not only did she pass down the recipes, but the family cherishes her recipes. And not only do they cherish them as they should, but the grandson has a gift and he took it and ran with it. I love that. I love the part about the barbershop because Black neighborhoods, that's got to be there. A Black barbershop. That's where the men hang out. And I really love that because you're giving community here. You're giving a sense of community. And I love how you're naming the dishes that we're all so familiar with, the black-eyed peas and the collard greens, the cornbread, the peach cobbler. I really love that, how the men in the neighborhood are smelling it a mile away. So I like that part.
And Naomi, if I can add really quickly.
Yeah.
The food piece is so important, y'all. So many families are eating chicken boxes.
Yeah.
Right? And so we got to get back to cooking.
Yes.
We got to get back to, notice the young brother talked about he has to do his chores.
That's what I was getting ready to say on Friday nights. That's why I ended here. He has to do his chores first. He has to do his chores first before he gets to do what he wants to do. And they're supporting a local farmer. a local farmer. So they're supporting Black-owned business. It's amazing, David, the things that are in this book, the messages here, it's just wonderful.
Thank you.
So guys,
Thank you.
I suggest you all get it. If you have a child, get it. If you don't, I mean, I don't have any little children here, but I really enjoyed it. I really, really did.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So now we get to the point where we get to ask you questions, David.
Okay.
So I'm going to randomly, and I don't want to keep you too long, but I could talk to you for hours. But I'm going to ask you a few questions that were sent in by our followers. And this one was answered. It says, why did you decide to write for children? But you pretty much told us that. So I'll pick another one. Oh, do you cook, David?
First of all, thank you for sending in that question. I am an outstanding cook.
Are you? That's awesome.
And that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy doing this book, because I love cooking.
Okay, they want to know what kind of food do you like to cook?
So one of my favorite dishes is so I'm a fisherman. So when we talk about self-care and relaxation, I'm usually in a good month, I'm on a fishing boat once or twice a month, and I'm in Maryland, so I do a lot of fishing in Maryland. So I catch rockfish, and if you've ever had rockfish, I do a rockfish, and I make like a homemade mango like chutney.
Oh my
sauce.
gosh! Stop. That sounds good. That sounds really good.
Yeah. I also make a mean veggie lasagna.
Oh wow!
A mean veggie 3-cheese lasagna.
That sounds good. It sounds like you ain't playing in the kitchen.
No. I throw down.
Okay.
I throw down.
All right. There's no reason for you not to be proud. Right. I think that's awesome. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this question is about Gabe and his green thumb.
Okay.
Okay. So someone would like to know, for children who want to start a garden but have little patience, what should they start growing that would be easy for the parents to help with?
So this is Gabe.
Yes.
And his green thumb. And I put my website in, so you can definitely go to my website.
I'll put it on the post.
Okay.
As well.
Order a whole bunch of books. I'll sign them for you. So for young children, I was just having this conversation with some parents in the park the other day. Start with like, you know, the red cups. Some of y'all used to be alcoholics. You know what I'm talking about. The little red party cups. Get some of those little red party cups and use those as planters. Right? Start off small and start them off in the house. One of the things that for people who have young children, really important, even when you're doing story time, doing an activity, and in the back of Gabe and his green thumb, just like in Chef Toussaint, there's some information about gardening.
Gardening, yeah. Yeah, I like how you did that. And in Toussaint, you have actually recipes as well.
We got recipes. I think it's important to play quiet music, particularly jazz, classical music, reggae. I love music from Senegal and Mali, because I think we live in a society even where 3- and 4-year-olds are so amped up.
Yes.
Because a lot of times even Naomi, I know parents who have 6-year-olds that have iPhones. And I'm not trying to stop.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's real talk. That's for real.
That overstimulation
yes.
with technology. So playing quiet music and doing story time. Playing quiet music and working in the garden. Driving in the car. Playing quiet music and having books in the back seat. Sooner or later, your children are going to pick up those books. Right. But they're so overstimulated by technology.
Right.
That you wonder why your children a lot of times are so amped up.
Exactly. So gardening is a good release. It's a quiet release. When I started, I think the first thing that I grew was, I think maybe tomatoes.
Yeah, tomatoes.
Or green peppers. I think green peppers was the first thing, because that's kind of easy, right? That's pretty easy for a child. Yeah. I think gardening for children is a perfect pastime for the family. And that's what Gabe, with your book, Gabe and his green thumb, his whole family was involved in that.
Right.
So that's really good. Okay, let me move on and ask another question. Oh, this is a good one. How do you create a good pitch to present to schools or to school administrators? How do you create a good pitch to present to schools and school administrators?
So people, that's a great question. People call me all of the time frustrated because what ends up happening is, so I'm answering your question, but there's some things I need to share on the front end.
Sure.
People will say, I live in, let's say, Virginia, and I reached out to the New York City public school system to try to carry my books. Why reach out to the New York City public school system when you live in Virginia?
Yeah.
And you live in a community. You live in a community in Virginia where there's got to be, 10 or 15 elementary schools. If you're doing books for elementary or middle or high school, there are schools in your area that will start. I didn't start off becoming a vendor in New York. I started off locally. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, oftentimes we want to try to meet with a school board person, a superintendent, a principal. All three of those people are super busy. They ain't got time to be worried about your book. The superintendent of the schools don't have time to be worried about your book. So I always find a teacher or a guidance counselor, right? This may be somebody in your family. It could be somebody in your fraternity or sorority, somebody you go to church with, somebody who knows somebody at the hair salon or the beauty parlor. Start with what I call low-hanging fruit, right? Leverage the relationship with that person, and they will become your biggest advocate.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, again, we talked about this briefly. Y'all, make sure your book is of high quality.
Yes.
Make sure you have an editor. I have a very dynamic editor out of Sacramento, California, and she is Black. Because remember, I only use Black folks, Black and brown folks. If you need a good editor, just because your cousin's sister's baby mama got an undergraduate degree from Princeton in English does not make them an editor.
Right.
So you want to have an editor who has some experience editing books, particularly children's books. All of those things are important even before you get to the pitch.
Right.
And then the pitch is often best received when you have a quality book, as well as Naomi, I know we talked about this when we first connected, understanding the school district's standards and practices for literacy. Common Core, having a book aligned with Common Core standards is important.
Yep.
Right. Getting a readability assessment, having a teacher's guide. All of those things make school districts and teachers say, "Oh, I'd love to work with you." Being available to do discussions, with teachers, and now the dope thing now is, even coming as we navigate COVID, I mean, we've kind of opened up the space to do so much more stuff virtually, even though, I'm actually going to start traveling again. I'll be in Rochester, New York at the end of this month doing some stuff with Rochester Public Schools. I'm still going to be doing a lot of virtual stuff, a lot of virtual training on my books.
Yeah, things have changed.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, David. I mean, all this information is amazing that you're sharing. I had mentioned earlier that you actually do webinars about schools and marketing to schools and presenting to schools. Will you be doing any of those anytime soon?
If folks are interested, I'll do a webinar, because I'm in and again, y'all, I am not an expert by no stretch of the imagination. I'm in right now, I'm in over 40 school districts.
It's amazing. That qualifies you to say you're an expert in my book.
No, I'm not an expert. I'm talking about from as small as, like, I'm going to do some work. I'm waiting to hear back from Bessemer Alabama. I'd never even heard of Bessemer, Alabama. It's a very small school district outside of Birmingham. But I'm a vendor in New York City public schools, and it's hard to get into New York City public schools.
Yeah, but once you're in, though, and we have many people saying that they would attend. So if you want to if you have time to plan one, and if I can be of any help at all, I know you're busy, but if I can be of any help, let me know.
And here's the thing that I tell people, Naomi, and people get mad at me because I don't really want to charge people who want to do books. You got a whole lot of other people out there that are really good at that. I'm willing to help. I'll have a conversation with anybody. I just ask you to buy 2 books from me.
That is true.
2 books from me. I'll have a conversation with anybody because I just think that one of my most one of the periods of history that I'm most fond of was the Harlem Renaissance, and the intellectual genius, the cerebral acuity that we were able to promote during the Harlem Renaissance, both Black men and Black women, was a real testament to who we are as a people, that we were able to come together. And Harlem at the time was the Black Mecca for writing, for music. And I say that to say that there's just so many amazing stories out here that we need to tell. For some reason, and again, there may be some of my white brothers and sisters who are listening. For some reason, we still think white people are going to save us. We got to save ourselves.
Okay. Y'all heard that, right?
And so in keeping with that, like even when you look at the data set on books, you'll be blown away by the number of white women who have major publication deals at major publishing houses, and they're writing books for Black children.
Yeah.
And you got people on this broadcast right now who I know who have great books.
Absolutely.
They can't even get a meeting.
They can't even get it. Can't even get it. And David, that on that point, that's so important. That's crucial. That really is. And I shared this before. When I was a little girl, the first book that I saw, I read everything. I love to read, always have. But the first time I saw a little girl with brown skin like me was a little girl named Lisa. And the book was Corduroy the Bear. I don't know if you remember it.
Yes.
But it was written by Don Freeman. At the time, I just assumed it was a Black man that wrote the book. I saw his name, Don Freeman. But no, it was not a Black man who wrote the book. He was a white man. And he wrote this book about this little girl, Lisa. And I did a little research on the book recently over the past year. And the little girl, Lisa, was his best friend's daughter.
But great book.
It's a great book. I love it. It taught a lot of lessons about empathy and love and saving, lots of good messages. But that was a white man who wrote that book with the Black character. Same with Ezra Jack Keats.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks that he's Black. No, he's not. He's white.
Right.
But like you said, they'd rather, still, that was back in the late 60s. We are in 2021.
Right.
And what you just described is still happening.
Yep.
We need each other, like you said. We need to come together. We can't do it on our own. But like you said, if 50 of us got together and went to Random House, that's completely different than one of us trying to knock on the door on our own. Okay, I'm going to ask you another question, David.
Okay.
And I promised you I wasn't going to keep you more than an hour. We're
I'm
going
good.
over. Okay, I know everyone is interested. Okay. Oh, this is a good question. From a man's perspective, David, what 3 things would you tell an aspiring children's author, in particular one who wants to write to Black boys?
From a man's perspective. Read
yes,
the question
sir.
Again.
From a Black man's perspective.
Oh, from a Black man. Read the question again. Can you read the question again?
Yes. What would you tell, 3 things you would tell an aspiring children's author, in particular one who wants to write for young Black boys?
Be bold. Don't take no for an answer.
Oh wow.
When Jerry and I did Khalil's Way, we were told that Black boys don't read.
See?
I've sold over 23,000 copies of this. We were told black boys don't read.
That's a shame.
So be unapologetically black and bold enough to write the story that you want to see children read. But assemble that team. So it's a quality. Your editor, your illustrator, all of that, right? So be bold. You know, the second thing is take your time. Do your research. So I'm doing this book, and so I've been to Richmond about 3 times doing research on the life and legacy of Magdalena Walker, visited a museum, just kind of walking around, taking photographs, you know, writing in the coffee shop near where her bank used to be, you know, kind of soaking up the ambiance. Find a good place to write. For whatever reason, Naomi, I cannot do my best writing in my house. I write in coffee.
I get it.
So I live in DC. I've written so much stuff in Busboys and Poets. If you get to the DC, Maryland area, you're looking for a treat, come to Busboys and Poets. But I go to coffee shops all over the country, and I do some of my best writing. I don't know what it is, because I'm also a tea drinker. Find a coffee shop, a restaurant, a library, figure out, you know, what your flow is.
Yeah.
And write. For me, also, like, I can't write unless I'm listening to music. That's the way my brain works.
Yeah.
So
my son is like that.
In the morning, I might start off with some Miles Davis, some John Coltrane, some Thelonious Monk.
Yes, sir.
By afternoon, I'm listening to NWA, right? I'm listening to Public Enemy. I might even throw on, you know, the Baby, you know, depending upon how I'm feeling, right?
All right.
But so I have to listen to music. If I'm not listening to music and writing at the same time, I'm not going to get any work done.
Okay. That's good. That's good. It's individual, you know. I have a son, one son, he has to have music. When he was in school, I used to say, turn the music off and do your homework. But I learned that he needs that music on in order to do his homework. So I learned, I'm different. I'm a quiet, very, very quiet person.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I have to have it quiet. When I need to focus, I don't want to hear anything. I just don't. If it's music, it's got to be very soft.
Okay.
Yeah. So your three answers for this person is to be bold, especially if you're talking about black boys. And you shared earlier why it's so important to speak to our black boys. Don't take no for an answer. Take your time and find your writing spot. Okay?
Find. So many people get stuck. You gotta figure out what you're like. Naomi, you said you need absolute quiet. If it was absolutely quiet in the space, I'm not getting anything done.
Right.
So you have figured out that the quiet space works for you. See, for me, it's listening to music. It could be sitting on a street corner where there's ambulances, people yelling and screaming. It could even be gunfire.
See,
right?
Right.
But
that's the way your brain works.
I need that noise
exactly
to help me think.
And you have to know what that is. That's just like knowing your writing style.
Right.
You know, if I have music, it's got to be quiet. I like to have on my aromatherapy thing going. That really helps me too. So we're all different. Excellent advice. Right. Okay, I'm going to ask you another question, David.
Okay.
How do you get to be a public school vendor and expand nationally? I imagine that means get into different schools across the country. How do you get to be a public school vendor?
When I do the webinar, I kind of go through in detail. I even show you a sample vending application. Every school district, there's an application. For a school district as large as Los Angeles or New York, the process is a little bit more detailed. But for most smaller school districts, it's usually like a one-page application that you have to complete. They're going to want to know some information about you as an entity. How do you, what are the products and services that you're marketing to the district? You know, I mean, it's a really basic form, but you fill out the form just to get into the system. But once you get into the system, then you got to start networking.
Right.
And that's why I say start with
You're
it's
local.
easier to go to the school in your neighborhood.
That's right.
It's easier to go, and we never look at libraries. Go libraries. Libraries will buy.
That's what I did first, David. I got my book into the libraries around me first.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Gabe and his green thumb was just voted to be on the summer reading list for the American Association of Librarians.
Libraries.
Like that. Yeah,
that's really good. I want to hold
so
up.
libraries are good spots too.
Yeah, good advice, David. I swear we could talk to you for another half an hour and ask you. I have a whole lot of questions for you, but
well, I mean, I can take two more.
You want to take two more?
Yeah,
okay. I know they're anxious and they're interested, so that's good. Okay, this one says, what is the most exciting thing that has happened to you since you released your book? So I would say this book or your first book. What's the most exciting thing that has happened?
I mean, that's kind of interesting. Again, I was honored to be part of a delegation of Black writers that went to Cuba, and we were part of the Havana Book Festival, and we donated books to the library in Havana, Cuba. We were extremely well received in Havana.
That's awesome.
Extremely,
that's pretty exciting.
Extremely well received. You know, interestingly enough, this is something that happened to me a couple months ago. Because you never know who's watching your work, and it's really important for you to have a website and all that.
Yes.
I don't know how many of y'all are basketball fans, but Chris Paul, who plays for the Phoenix Suns, his dad called me one day. It might have been like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And I'm thinking it's somebody playing games, because he said, you know, this is Charles Paul. My son plays for the Phoenix Suns. You know, we represent the Chris Paul Foundation. And I'm thinking it's one of my friends' jokes. I almost hung up on him, right? But the NBA, the dads in the NBA are interested in my work. So we've been having some conversations. They've purchased products from me. So that's been pretty,
that's exciting, David. That's amazing.
You know, it's cool.
Congratulations on that.
Thank
that's
you.
Amazing. You've cool. had a lot of exciting things happen to you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we're all basking in your shine.
Thank you.
All right, last question. Oh, you answered this already about an editor. You answered
okay.
Editor. Looking back, David, what is one thing about your book that you would have changed, or you would have liked to have changed? Looking back, what is one thing you might have liked to have changed about your book? I can't see anything, but maybe you.
I wouldn't say there's anything that I would have changed. What I will say is there have been some missed opportunities for me to write some books that I didn't write because I was procrastinating. And there's some stories that and one of my friends who's on the line knows what I'm talking about. I've been beating myself up because there have been some stories that I should have written, but I was procrastinating.
You procrastinated? Okay.
And that's why, like I said, I'm doing anywhere from 8 to maybe 10 books between now and the end of the year, because I'm not playing. Yeah. Our children need the books. The schools
they do.
Want the books.
They do.
I'm not playing. Yeah.
That they do. Well, good. We'll model ourselves after you with that, because we shouldn't be playing either. I know I'm not playing. I'm working. I'm working my butt off. Right. I am working my butt off to make this happen. And you're right. Our children need us, and that's what it's all about. Well, David, I'm going to ask you my last few questions. They're personal questions about your personal thinking, not invasive.
You sure you want the answer? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
All right.
You've shared a lot with us, so I'm going to make it quick. But what have you read, David, that we should be reading?
Wow.
That's a great question someone sent in.
I'm trying to think of the name of it. There's a what's the name of it? What is here we go. One of my favorite people in the world
Mm-hmm.
is Dr. Janice Johnson Diaz. She was just on the Today
Janice.
Show. The book is called How to Parent, How to Raise Joyful Girls. I mean, the book is really about how to raise healthy, well-adjusted girls. She was just on the Today Show. She's a great friend of mine, Dr. Janice Johnson Diaz.
Okay.
I'm actually hosting a webinar with Janice next Tuesday, 7 p.m. It's absolutely free. It's on my
David,
Instagram.
will you share that information with me, and I'll post it too. I'll share it with everyone.
So that's one of my favorite books. And I'm talking about I am a student of history. This is a book that really looked at Howard University and the public intellectuals who attended Howard 1926 to 1970 is a great book.
Okay.
Another great book is looking at the life and times of Stokely Carmichael.
Okay.
I could go on and on. Oh, here we go. This is an interesting anthology looking at Black manhood and masculinity through the eyes of Black men in Britain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, looking at manhood and masculinity through the eyes of Black men who live in Europe. And so those are just a few books. Yeah.
That's awesome, David. I hope that everybody got those down, but I might send you a message and just ask you to repeat those in case someone doesn't, watch the whole thing. I'd like to make sure I put that list out there for you. Okay. So, David, I'm really interested in this answer because I'm a word person. Okay. What is your favorite word? What is your favorite word to say, to write, to hear? What is it to use?
I can't say that. It's a curse word.
David,
I told you I curse a lot, man. I can't say that on this broadcast.
Can you think of another one?
Another word.
A nice word, David.
A nice word.
Yes.
I'm in recovery for cursing, so I'm
okay. Well, we'll pray for you.
I like the word clarity. Clarity.
That's a good one.
One of my favorite words. Yes.
Okay. I like that one. Okay.
Yeah.
And the last question, David, is what does literary success look like to you? What is your definition of literary success?
For me, I am embarking upon raising a lot of money to give books away.
Wow.
I want to assemble a team of people who are authors, and I want to just give books away.
That's it,
David. I had a taste of it a couple of years ago. I was doing some work in Jackson, Mississippi. We were funded through the Kellogg Foundation, and we were able to give away thousands of books to Black boys in Jackson, Mississippi. And it was funded through some literacy work through Jackson Public Schools, Jackson, Mississippi. Because the reality is, Naomi, there's so many Black children who need our books.
Yes.
And their parents ain't gonna buy the books. And we're gonna keep it real.
I mean, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
And on a small scale, way smaller than yours, I was able to do that book drive and give away almost 300 books.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm still doing it. But that's my dream, David, is to
I want to give them away.
Yeah, I want to get Black BIPOC authors together, support them, help maybe even fund their publishing costs, get the books and give them away. That's my goal. That's my goal. And I'm going to start a nonprofit to do it. I know it's going to happen. I believe it's going to happen because that is my heart's desire.
That's it.
Because in the meantime, we can help you, David. If you're already doing those initiatives with the children in Africa and elsewhere, so many people would love to support that.
And let me just say, a lot of times when I'm out, most people when they see me, I got my book bag on because I always have books on me. I can see a little guy in the store with mom or dad that's having a hard time. Yep. I'll pull out a Sharpie, sign a copy of Gabe, or Chef Toussaint or one of the other books, and I'll just give it to them. And the smile that I get,
I know,
is just that's all the reward that I need.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what it's all about for me too. I just wish I had the money and the ability, the financial ability to just get books printed and give them away. Quality books though. And books that not only entertain but educate. That's important. So
I'm gonna put my website up here again.
Okay, David.
Because I am a businessman.
Of course you are. And I'm going to share all your information anyway. And is there any are there any last words you want to share with us as authors? Any last words you want to give to the authors tonight?
I just can't stress this enough that we got to work together. We just got to support each other. I mean, that's what it comes down to. We just got to support each other.
Yeah.
Here's my website.
Okay. Yep.
I mean, that we just gotta, because we cannot compete with the Random House, the Scholastics, the Simon and Schusters, unless we work together. So I'm working with so many authors across the country. And then, like, so for example, those of you, if you've written a book or writing a book, you need to go to Naomi to have her do a review.
Thank you, David. Thank you. And many of the people on here, they have done that, because I don't play with my reviews. And actually, I appreciate you saying that, because I just talked to a brother who I did his review yesterday. And he just said, wow, Naomi, you're amazing, because I don't just post on Instagram. I post it wherever you are. I'm going to post it so you can get seen.
Right.
And I believe in a quality review, not just repeating what you put for your advertisement. I read the book, and that is to help us. And I told him that. That's because I'm trying to help us. I mean, we support each other and we win. That's how I feel. So thank you so much for saying that, David, because I do take it seriously. I really do. I really do. So listen, everybody, please follow David and follow me if you're not following me. I appreciate you guys so much. This was an amazing conversation. David, if you do have the time, if you are able to schedule a webinar, please let me know how I can help to make that happen. I really will help to make sure that we have some people there. I've already been blessed by 2 of your webinars. So yeah, I highly recommend it. And if you can do that, please let me know. And I'm sure that people here would love to support you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, David. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for joining me on Kid Author Connect. We'll be here next Tuesday. Maybe we can get David to come back before the end of the year. I don't know. We'll see. But,
anytime, Naomi, anytime.
Okay. So much information, David, so much help and so much support, and I appreciate it. You are an outstanding author, outstanding businessman. You're just an outstanding brother, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. Good night. You take care. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on Instagram.